When you're working with a new coach or a new side hustle or new business, what are the three key automations that you know that everyone should have in place? What are the three key automations?
Automating your delivery, like your onboardances, your billing, that kind of stuff. The next thing is I would be automating your marketing, your lead flow. And so you've probably heard funnels, the idea of a sales funnel or an online marketing funnel. And a lot of people think, and there are organizations out there that say like, you're one funnel away, just build this one funnel and your whole business will be blown up. I don't think of a funnel as one. I actually think of what most people think of as a funnel is really a journey. It's a cold prospect to a customer journey, the cold to customer journey, as I call it. And within that cold to customer journey are multiple funnels that are all tied to each other with different goals.
Today, we are joined by author, speaker, marketer, tech geek. He is the founder of automationagency.com. He has sold 3 businesses before age 25. We are joined here by Carl Taylor. Welcome to the show.
It's so good to be here, Mark.
Carl, my pleasure. I've been listening to you. You're a very busy young man. You know that you're doing a lot of different things. So I'm kind of curious, going back 10 years, would you ever have imagined you'd be where you're at today?
Ooh, 10 years ago. Yes and no. 10 years ago, I wrote my first book, Red Means Go. So I was very much, like, I'm going to have this amazing, incredible life. But did I imagine it to be anything like what my life is today? No, definitely not.
That's one of the things that I found throughout my journey into entrepreneurship. There's all these twists and turns. Was there ever an aha moment you were like, that's it, I'm on the right track, I'm going to dig deep? Or was it just kind of like a natural thing? What was that aha moment at for you, Carl?
Aha moment. I would say that there wasn't one aha moment. There were numerous ones along the way. Like automation agency, my main current business today, that came about from me procrastinating. Like I was a coach. I was teaching people about buying, selling businesses. And then what happened is just consistently people around me were like, I need help with Entreport. I need help with Infusionsoft. Like you're really good at all that stuff. Couldn't you do something? Couldn't you hire people? Couldn't you, like, what can you do around that? And so it was really a slower burn but eventually when it all fell into place, it was like one of those aha moments. But I wouldn't say it was one of those things where I just woke up and was like, this is my life. This is what I'm going to do. It was little steps along the way until eventually you look back. I'm sure we can all relate to that. You look back in life and all the dots seem to connect. But when you're sitting in a dot, which we all are right now in this moment, we are in a dot. We don't know where that dot connects to. But in 10 years' time, you'll look back and you'll potentially go, that dot is exactly why I'm where I am. And so, yeah, I don't think that I can sit in this dot and go, I know where it's going to connect, but I can look back and see those little aha moment dots for sure.
That's a really cool way of putting it, connecting the dots, because you just don't know what's coming next. And that's that's been my main motto over the past year or so is do, fail, learn, get comfortable with discomfort. Because if you're comfortable all the time, you're not pushing it. You're not getting close to that next dot, right? Was there ever an event or a moment where you just said, okay, I'm going to try this new thing and it worked out and you're like, okay, I'm just going to keep rolling with it? Obviously with automation agency and helping the coaches, would you say that was the big turning point for you?
Yeah, that was a big one because like back when I was teaching people about buying and selling businesses, it was good. I loved it. I had some great students who were getting some really good results, but it was, as a business model, it was a hard sell. It was hard to convince people who were already in a business why they might want to acquire competitors. They were like, I've already got a business, I don't want to buy one. And I was attracting a lot of people who were like, oh, I want to buy a business, but I kind of had a flagship offering called How to Buy a Business for $1. And the challenge with that marketing, it was a great hook, but the problem was it was attracting a lot of people who had about $1 to their name. So they didn't have a lot of cash. Yes, you buy a business for $1. There's a reason you pay for the business. It's going to need cash flow. It's going to need other things to get it fixed. And so it was a hard slog business. The people who went through it was amazing, but I struggled to get the numbers I wanted. And so the business was struggling a little bit. I got down to about $5,000 left in the bank and I had more than $5,000 in outgoings. And that's when I kind of really started to pivot to, you know what, I'm going to quit coaching. There were other aspects. I was getting frustrated, as any coach listening can probably relate, that you can teach, but you can't necessarily get them to do the action, right? You can inspire, but at the end of the day, they've got to take the action. Yeah. So that can be frustrating too. And then ultimately, when Automation Agency kind of started, it was consuming all of my time. I started it as an agency where I was the guy doing the sales, I was the guy doing the copywriting for clients, I was project managing, I was doing everything when I first started Automation Agency. We were a high-priced agency, high-end projects. There was no consistency. And then eventually one day I just like, why don't I flip my model? What if instead of selling the $200 a month thing after a project, what if I sold the $200 a month thing first and then decided to do projects afterwards?
Mm.
And when I made that decision and I started marketing it that way, that was one of those pieces all just kind of fell into place and we just exploded. And then we stopped doing projects because that was just not didn't make sense anymore, and we just stuck to the subscription.
I'm curious, how did you identify that you needed to change your offering from the big ticket and then the service on the back end to the service into the big ticket on the back end, right? How did you flip your model? Would you have a mentor? Were you part of a mastermind? Were you just like meditating in the morning? How did you come to that, Carl?
Oh, I mean, I'm always in masterminds and I've always got mentors going on. So yes, I did have masterminds and mentors that I was in. I'm sure they impacted and had played a role in it. The big shift that I remember, I mean, we're going back now 6 years or so.
Mm.
The big shift that I remember was I had a number of clients who had done a big project with me. A number of them had come on to my 200, what we call platform management at the time, $200 a month kind of ongoing unlimited work to keep the Ferrari we built you operating. And and then I was mentoring. I was going to this program called Business Blueprint run by a friend of mine, Dale Beaumont. And I was one of the mentors at a round table that people could come down and sit with me. And a lot of people would sit down at my table and they'd get my marketing advice and they'd talk about this. And they would then go and hire a virtual assistant. They would go, or they already had a virtual assistant, and they would let them loose in their Entreport account, or they'd let them loose in this marketing stuff. And they were wondering why they were getting poor results. That I would see what had been set up and I would cringe at just like, and if they didn't go and get a virtual assistant, they would go and hire a high priced agency who promised them the world, who
Yeah.
delivered not the best result. And I was like, okay, these people can't afford, because I was trying to get them to sign up to my projects. They couldn't afford, or they weren't willing to invest the 10, 15 grand in the projects that we were doing. And I was like, but they could get a lot of value of using us on our $200 at the time month program. I was like, if they had access to that, they wouldn't need to get a virtual assistant, or their virtual assistant could stick to the stuff that they're good at, the general stuff. And we've got the specialists who know how to do the graphic design, the WordPress development, the marketing automation stuff. And that was when I was like, okay, what if I just try it? I've got a pool of people who would be a perfect fit for this, but they can't, I had the market and my offering was not working, but I had an option and I just thought, let's try it. And I remember it was a flatmate I was living with at the time. He's also an entrepreneur. I was anxious as anything. I was like, oh, $200 a month. Like, I don't know if this price point really scales.
Right.
Like, because I've been surrounded, and anyone else listening, you may have been surrounded by a lot of people who say, go high ticket, chart less clients at a higher price. I'd been surrounded by that for years. A lot of my mentors and coaches and people would say that. Even I had said that to people. And that here I was offering a high ticket offering. And yeah, when I got the cash, it was good, but there was an inconsistency. I thought, you know what? Let's just try a different model. And actually, another aspect that helped me, I remember, was I was on a webinar that Ryan Dice from Digital Marketer was running. And this is, again, like 6 years ago or so. But he was talking about how he had Digital Marketer Lab. And at the time, it was like $38. It was this absolute no-brainer, $38 a month for this great library of online marketing. And I remember thinking like, wow, like that's a really cheap, low offer. And he was on this webinar talking about why, I can't remember exactly what he said, but he was talking about why he chose to do that. And he must have said something on that
Yeah.
webinar that just made me go, let's try it. Let's just try offering the $200 a month thing and let's see how it goes. And my flatmate said, how many clients do you need to know if this works? And I said 30. If I had 30 clients, I think I'd figure out if this price point works. Now, I think we got to about 100 clients before I decided the price point needed to go up. But that's what I stuck at. I was like, okay, how do I just get 30 clients on this thing? How do I get 30 clients on this thing? And that's what ultimately led to what's now the core offering of what we call concierge service. at Automation Agency.
Love it. Love it. So that's the automationagency.com where you can find everything that Carl's building. And this makes a lot of sense. I think you hit on something, Carl, that's really, really important is before you started running with this new offering, you determined, hey, this is how many clients I need to actually make it work, right? You figured out what your break-even point is, where you can get to a point where you can actually pay yourself. I think that's something that a lot of side hustlers that are trying to go full time don't really think fully about that. Like, based on this price point, how much do I need to sell? Is this going to be a variable expense? Because you're looking at bringing on new assistants, new VAs. Hey, Mark here. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. Let YouTube know you're enjoying this video. Let me know you're enjoying this video. All right, let's get back into this episode. So I want to kind of talk a little bit about automations and why they're important. And in your experience, I want to break it down because listen, we don't have enough time to get into all of this. So I really want to hit on this. This is a really important thing. When you're working with a new coach or a new side hustler, new business, what are the 3 key automations that you know that everyone should have in place? What are the 3 key automations?
All right. Well, I'll get to those 3, but I think the first thing we need to do is define automation,
Love
what
it.
I think automation truly is, right?
Okay.
A lot of people think of automation purely as tech, and that's definitely probably the most well-known consideration of automation. My belief is automation is just you not doing it.
Okay.
So that means hiring a team member is a form of automation. If you can take something that you've normally been doing and you can delegate that to a team member, so you're delegating it to either technology or a team member, or maybe a combination of both. One of the biggest things that frustrates me when I see a lot of people go, what's the best landing page builder? What's the best XYZ tool? And it's the best is very contextual. What's the best for me may be very different to what's the best for you. It depends on your goals. So just like you would if you were recruiting someone, you write a job description. What are you looking for? And then you find the best tools or a combination of tools or a combination of tools plus people to ultimately provide the filling role that you need to fill. So that's what automation is to me. Now, if we go a little bit more on the tech side of things, if we're talking about automation, I think the 3 kind of key things that any business needs to have is you need to be looking at how you automate parts of your delivery first. First and foremost, if you want to get out of the self-employed mode and move up into what's the manager level, right? Then take that next step, you've got to start getting yourself out of the delivery. That's the core part. You will forever be trapped in your business. You might think I need to go hire marketers, or I need to do all this stuff in marketing. The delivery component is going to be your biggest bottleneck no matter what. Get yourself out of that. By delivery,
sorry to cut you off there, but by delivery, so I'm just going to kind of think about what this means. It's by actually going out and acquiring clients one-on-one. Is that what you're referring to? Because like I get DM'd all the time, buy this, buy that. Is that part of the delivery that you're talking about, or
no? Great question. So in terms of delivery, I mean the actual doing whatever your product or service is.
Okay.
Right. So if you're a service provider, like you're an agency like me, the delivery of someone signed up, become a client, they've asked it to do something. How can we automate as much of that process as possible, either through people or through tech? So what's your client onboarding experience? How do you make that consistent? The moment someone pays you money, whether they're buying a physical product, a digital product, a service, what is the kind of email sequences they get, the process, the billing process? Are you automating your billing? The number of people who are coaches in particular that I discover who are still manually sending out an invoice to client rather than just setting up a subscription on Stripe or something like that. Like, get the consistency of money showing up in your bank account. Automate that so you don't have to think about it. Your client doesn't have to think about it. So the delivery component of what you do is very much about once someone's paid you money, what happens next? How do you automate as much of that as possible? Hiring a bookkeeper if that's what you need. If you're going to stick to doing invoices, don't be the one sending the invoice. Get a bookkeeper who's taking care of that. So that's the first part that I think everyone needs to focus on is just delivery, leverage yourself out.
I'll tell you, I think it's very easy to get into that habit of, oh, it only takes me 5 minutes, I'm just going to do it. But it's not just about the time it actually takes you to execute it. It's about opening up the program, changing your mind frame, extra stuff on your calendar, right? It's infuriating when I think about it, Carl. All these little tiny things that I have to do on a daily basis to keep the wheels turning. It's just crazy. I love that. Automating your delivery.
It's not just, and that's the thing, like it's that little 5 minutes now. It's like, oh yeah, that's fine. But it will get harder as you grow, as you get busier, you get more clients. this thing that you do that takes 5 minutes, if you have to do that across 10 clients, well, now that's 50 minutes. That's not 5 minutes anymore. Whereas if you have been able to automate it down, so it is 5 minutes to do all 10 of those clients in one go, like you logged into Active Campaign or you just filled in a little form and clicked send, and then the rest of it that you would normally do just happens, that's amazing. And now you've got yourself leverage,
Yeah.
which is the key to any financial freedom, is about having money that works for you and puts money into your bank account without you having to spend time to do it. It's the same thing in business. How do you do something once and get it working for you over and over and over again for as long as possible, if not forever? So big part is delivery. Like, it's the biggest mistake I see people make is they go and automate their marketing, they go and automate their sales, they go and automate all this other stuff before they actually get their foundations right. Once your foundations of delivery is more automated, now you can go nuts on
Yeah.
the marketing, the sales, all of that component. You will always be the best salesperson for your business, hands down. It is not the first thing to get rid of.
Mhm.
Marketing, you will usually always be the best person who understands your market. You may not be the best marketer, but you will usually best understand your market and the problems that need to be communicated. So I believe that every entrepreneur needs to be seeing themselves as a marketer, learning about what's possible, they don't have to know how to push the buttons, but they should be considering and learning about what's possible. So we've taken the automation of, going back to your three key things, automating your delivery, like your onboard sequences, your billing, that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
The next thing is I would be automating your marketing, your lead flow. And so you've probably heard funnels, the idea of a sales funnel or an online marketing funnel. And a lot of people think, and there are organizations out there that say, like, you're one funnel away, just build this one funnel and your whole business will be blown up. I don't think of a funnel as one. I actually think of what most people think of as a funnel is really a journey. It's a cold prospect to a customer journey, the cold to customer journey, as I call it. And within that cold to customer journey are multiple funnels that are all tied to each other with different goals. You've got your pre-funnel, you've got the stuff before they're kind of being filtered. This is your advertising, your traffic, your podcasting, your Facebook ads, your Google ads. Then you've got your top of funnel. Now, the top of funnel has a very specific goal. What's known as top of funnel is purely to get people to raise their hand and say, I might be interested in what you've got. That's all
Mhm.
it's designed to do. It's not designed to sell them. It's purely to get them to go, here's my name and email. I'm interested in whatever it is that you do. So
So like a lead magnet on a landing page, for example.
correct, exactly.
Okay.
A lead magnet, a quiz is a great lead magnet. A PDF is a great lead magnet.
Quiz.
There's all these different types of things that can get people to put their name and email in and then take them to the next step. So that's all. It's not designed to do anything more. Top of funnel, captured their name. Great. We've got interest. Then we move to middle of funnel. Middle of funnel is about education. How do we educate this prospect or this potential customer about the problems that we solve and how we go about solving them, so that they can then further decide whether or not there's a good match here? Because that's all a funnel is designed to do. There's a lot of people out there that will use persuasion principles and they're looking to manipulate. I believe that good sales is really about educating what you do, the problems you solve, and then ultimately determining, as a friend of mine, Ari Galper, would say, like, is there a fit? What is the truth? What is the truth? And that's all we're looking for. And the truth is there's either a fit or there's not a fit.
Mm.
That's it. And so by the middle of funnel, like a great type of funnel you can do there would be like what I call a video masterclass. And automation agency, you want to see what a video masterclass looks like? Go and watch our demo. That's an example of what I would call a video masterclass. It's a video that is purely designed to educate about who we're right for, the problems we solve, how we go about it, what our portal looks like. And at the end of it, people are educated to the point where they will choose to either go, that was cool, I'm out of here, or they'll potentially go to the next step, which is our bottom of funnel, which is either to book in a right fit consult, which, so for us, that's a phone appointment, the appointment setter funnel, and getting someone to actually book into a calendar to talk to someone, or they'll go straight to the point of buying and signing up. And they're kind of our two bottom of funnel options. We also have a bot that we call the right fit bot that sits in our bottom of funnel as well. But they're kind of very key difference. Top of funnel, get interest. Middle of funnel, educate, show them how we solve the problem. Bottom of funnel is get them to a buying decision. They either choose to buy or they don't buy. That's
Really,
really what it is.
I just want to point this out. And again, Carl's laying out the exact formula. This is really fascinating because I haven't heard it laid out this exact way before, Carl. And you can, of course, see what he's putting into place at theautomationagency.com. But Carl, you hit on something I think is really interesting and that I actually haven't seen executed on before. I know a lot of people that are doing webinars and these kind of like live events, but you actually have a video walkthrough. So you're walking exactly what you talk by automating that part of the onboarding process, right? It's completely scalable. If 1,000 people click it, you're not actually doing these webinars one-on-one or live at that time, right?
Yeah, and look, like there's definitely places for webinars. Like I'm not anti-webinar. I think webinars are great. There's also a form of evergreen webinars, right?
Yep.
Where people have gone and recorded a webinar and turned it into make it look like it's a live
Right.
webinar. And I kind of think, well, you may as well just do a video masterclass
Yeah.
in that instance. Just go, here's a video, it's a video, click play. But webinars are great. I've done plenty of webinars over the years, and for your business model, and if you want to show up in that way, like a webinar is an amazing way to get so much leverage. And the cool thing about a webinar, you can run it once and then you can still scale it with the automation, the replays, the encores, all the things you can do on the back end after you've run a webinar. So I just wanted to touch on that don't think if you were planning on doing a webinar, you should move to a video. What I recommend everyone do, and this is true of anything in marketing, is there are no crystal balls.
Yeah.
Like if you are finding a guru or someone that you label as a guru and you're going, they've got the answers, you're going to be led in ways that won't serve you. You've got to just test. Like you are a scientist. As a business owner, you're a scientist. You've got all these different ingredients, resources, people, time, money, ideas, and your job is to just mix them together and see what happens. And so you try something. If it works really well, you keep doing it while it's working, and you try something else to see if it works even better. And if it doesn't work better, you stick to the thing that's working really well. And so, yeah, I would say do a webinar, test a video masterclass, test multiple quizzes, top of funnel. Like I have multiple top of funnels. I have a few different middle of funnels. Bottom of funnel is pretty solid with what we do. But like those are the key elements that you need in your marketing mix. And you just keep mixing and matching and playing with them until you find a recipe that works well.
Yeah, I'm all about the do, fail, learn. Keep trying different things. Keep it fresh because got to get comfortable with discomfort, ladies and gentlemen. But I'm totally in agreement there. I want to talk a little bit about another thing that I think automating is just really synonymous with automating, and that is your mailing list, right? So assuming you've got someone into your top of funnel, they clicked it, they want to watch the webinar, they want to watch the video, they want the quiz, which is another great one. What do you do when someone actually clicks that and they get into your email sequence? Because building an email list is hard. You always got people dropping off, coming on. What should we be doing with the people that click on that hey, I'm interested button?
Perfect. So the first thing is you deliver what you promised. That's the first thing you do. So if you've promised them the results of a quiz, or you've promised to send them your lead magnet, your PDF, or whatever it was, send that to them. First email is, hey, here's the thing. On the next page, and even in that email, could be, P.S. by the way, whenever you're ready, here's like 4 or 5 ways that I can help you. You can lay out the breadcrumbs of here's what else you can do. Hey, here's the great thing. And by the way, whenever you're ready, you might want to check out my video, my demo. You might want to check out this. You might want to check out that. You might want to have a call with one of our Right Fit consultants. Like you can tell them the options that are in your middle of funnel and your bottom of funnel straight at that point. And you can then continue to follow up. Now, there's a lot of different beliefs and approaches in the marketing world. I personally make most of my automated emails no more than 3 emails long.
Okay.
No more than 3 emails. There's one email that delivers the thing. There's a second email that usually is kind of some sort of a check-in, maybe a bit of proof, depending on what trying to lead them to the next step. So it's like, okay, let's say you've opted in for our free book funnel. You've got the book. We've sent that to you as an email, or maybe it was a physical mailed book that we were sending. The next email is like, hey, you asked for our book. One of the best things you can do is check out our demo. So it's really selling the demo and getting them over to the demo. If they still haven't taken that action, or if they have, the third email is more of a Dean Jackson style 9-word email where it's designed to start a conversation at that point. It's just a simple like, hey, are you still interested in getting help with your marketing? ? That's literally all it's designed to do, is trying to get someone who's interested to start a conversation with the team. That's as much as I'll automate. At the end of that, If they haven't taken any of those actions, they haven't moved on to the demo. If they went on to the demo, another 3 emails start. There's an email straight after they request the demo. There's another email that's trying to sell them the next step. And then there's a third, again, usually a 9-word email in my style, that will design to elicit a conversation.
So that's interesting.
If they fall out, you go.
Yeah, so I want to kind of dive into this a little bit, because I've kind of heard the opposite of you need 100 emails all automated and sequenced and all that. But I just don't know actually how personal that is. And I kind of like what you're talking about, Carl, because you can kind of gauge the right type of sequence based on the action that your customer is taking. If they click the button, now you know they're actually interested in that, right? So this is something I've heard you talk about before, and that's the concept of tagging your subscribers. And you actually laid it out into 3. What are the 3 types of tags that we should be setting for our subscribers?
Yeah. So firstly, you've got informational tags. This is, so like if you're using an Active Campaign, Infusionsoft, Ontraport, any of these systems that apply tags, this is what we're talking about. If you want to tag information, so the question is, do I need to store this for later? Do I want to use this to segment my database? So an informational tag could be like interested in marketing, right? Like the fact that they've opted in for a particular lead magnet, or they went to one of your blog posts, you might choose to trigger that and say, okay, tag them as interested in marketing. So that way, if I'm sending an email about relationships, I don't send it to the people who are interested in marketing. I send it to the people interested in relationships. So that's an informational type of tag. The next type of tag you've got is a behavioral tag based on behavior that they have taken. So let's say they've opted in for your lead magnet. A great type of behavioral tag that I use there is be opt-in : that's my kind of naming convention, opt-in : book of funnels, opt-in : 35 task ideas, opt-in : active campaign task ideas. Like these are our different lead magnets. I'm tracking the fact that they've opted in, they've requested that guide. Right. Why is that useful? So if I'm going to promote and say, hey, you should grab this guide, I don't send it to someone who's already got it. Right.
Well, it also could be helpful because if someone is really into podcasting, you don't want to send them an ad about how to sell on Amazon, right? You kind of want to deliver goods based on what they're interested in, right?
It's really important because the part that we haven't quite got touched to is after the automated emails, we need to be nurturing them. And I believe nurturing should be a manual process, not an automated process. And that is about truly sending the right message to the right people. They don't want to, that's how you get lots of unsubscribes, is you start changing the messaging on them and they're like, what is this? So you really want to have the behavioral tags that are tracking what they've done, informational tags that are tracking, information that is useful for you to segment. And you may not know what that is initially, so you collect a lot. And then over time you go, actually, that's useless, I don't need it. And the third type of tag is really what we call a temporary tag or a trigger tag. It's not designed to be stored long-term on a contact record. It's purely designed to trigger an automation. We use these a lot if you were using Zapier to set up something like long before. If Calendly now has native integrations with certain things, but if it didn't, you would have Zapier notice that someone's booked into Calendly. That would add a tag that was temporary purely to trigger the automation. Instantly, the first step of the automation is to remove that tag so someone can go through that same automation all over again. So that's the third type of tag that's useful to be aware of.
Yeah, I like that. And that's super, super, super huge. I could just give you a personal example. One of the things that I was doing with Calendly is every time somebody would book an appointment for my podcast or something, it would automatically send all that information over to a spreadsheet where it's all filled in. It's laid out nicely so I can prepare. And it sounds, listen, all the side hustlers and after hours entrepreneurs out there, it sounds complicated. It is a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, it is a little bit. That's why you can go over to the automationagency.com and you can let someone else do it for you. Let Carl do it. He's got a great offering. But all this stuff is replicable. Like you can execute on it. You just need to determine what your priorities are. Is it better for you to spend all your time learning how to set up all these tags and funnels and integrations, or is it better to hire someone that is an absolute expert like Carl? So be thinking about that.
I think it's important to consider there that it's, as I said, I believe you should understand what's possible if you've got invested in a platform like Activate. It is absolutely, you as the business owner, and if you've got a marketing person as well, then great, them as well. But you as the business owner should be aware of
Yeah.
what can the platform do. You don't need to know how it works. You don't need to know what buttons to press, but you need to be aware of what it's capable of, because then you're going to be able to more effectively delegate, whether it's to a team like automation agency, whether it's a individual freelancer, whether it's another agency, whether it's an internal person. You're going to be able to better delegate when you understand what can be done, and you'll have better ideas of how to grow your business when you're like, oh, I could do that by doing this. And then you can ask someone to set it up.
Yeah, I could not agree more. That is a really, really smart thing that Carl just said, because the reality is, if you don't understand what's happening, you're going to be leaving a lot of money on the table, and you can very easily be taken advantage of. There are a lot of less than honest people out there who are willing to take your money and do a very minimal amount of work, right? So that's a really, really good point, Carl. I appreciate it. Thank you. All right, cool. So we're running low on time here. Before we let you go, Carl, I got to go through a quick rapid fire with you. So if you're ready, if you're strapped in, let's hit it. You good to go?
I'm good to go.
Cool. So you wake up in the morning. There's only one business task you can do for the day, Carl. What do you do?
Think, dream, plan.
Okay, creativity. I like that. What is one business item that everyone should have that costs less than $50?
Some $50. Ooh, notepad and pen.
That's actually a very common answer. That's a good one. I like that one. If you could only have one social media app on your phone, what would you have?
Oh, I don't really use social media much, except to like fly, post, and disappear. So maybe Instagram.
Okay.
Yeah, let's go with
Cool.
Instagram.
I'll take it. If you have 10 seconds with yourself 10 years ago, what do you tell Carl?
You're enough.
Love that. And final question. If you had a billboard message that could reach all the after hours entrepreneurs out there, millions and millions of people, what are you going to put on your billboard?
Same message. You're enough.
You're enough. I like it.
I think a lot of people, and I talk about this for myself, like a lot of people who are hungry, striving for success, myself included, it was coming from a place of not feeling like I was enough as I was. So I think if more people understood that, you're enough as you are, you don't need to achieve anything to be loved. And then everyone can kind of come to that place. I just think it's an important message that humanity needs to hear at this time.
I love that. I love that. Carl said it. I agree with it. Carl Taylor, thanks so much, brother.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for watching. I'm glad you enjoyed this episode. I've got several other episodes right here for you. Smash one of these videos to make sure that you don't miss out on the tips, tools, and tactics of industry experts. Let's take that side hustle full time. Smash one of these links.